Welcome into Locked On Phillies. It's opening day. Okay, we don't have a lineup yet. I know I'm releasing this early, but I'm going to talk you through what I think the lineup should be for opening day against the Texas Rangers and Jacob deGrom. We'll talk about the great pitching matchup and everything to look forward to from the Philadelphia Phillies season. We finally made it, folks. Baseball is back.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is indeed Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Been talking Phillies baseball for years on the radio at 97.5 The Fanatic. You can catch me on NBC Sports Philadelphia on the television. Credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the second straight season. And second straight season is your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, and opening day is finally here. My goodness, it feels like even though the Phillies have had the shortest offseason of every team besides one, and that other one being the Houston Astros, who of course they played in the World Series, but equal off seasons there, it still has felt like a long time since we've watched the Philadelphia Phillies play meaningful baseball. Spring training dragged on and dragged on and dragged on, and then you have the World Baseball Classic, and it's like, can we just get to the Philadelphia Phillies so I can watch Trey Turner play baseball in a Phillies uniform in a meaningful game? And well, guess what, folks? Do not wait any longer. Opening day is here. So we don't have a lineup yet at the time I'm recording this because I'm going to be putting this out early. I have a busy day for opening day. Believe it or not, everything gets a little bit crazy for me around baseball season because of this and my work at 97.5 The Fanatic and a whole bunch of other stuff I do. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I think the opening day lineup should be for the Philadelphia Phillies when they take on the Texas Rangers later on this afternoon. A 4:05 p.m. first pitch. Pitching matchup, Aaron Nola facing off against Jacob deGrom. You know it's going to be great. The first at-bat of this game is going to be one of the best at-bats of Major League Baseball as far as matchup this year. And now, I mean, it'll happen. They'll see other great players and everything. But the fact that the first at-bat of the Philadelphia Phillies at Texas Rangers season will be Jacob deGrom on the mound facing off against Trey Turner, that's awesome. That's so cool. What, you can't ask for a better matchup. The hottest hitter on the planet right now in Trey Turner. Jacob deGrom, the biggest name free agent pitcher. Well, one of two. Looking at Verlander as well, who ended up with the New York Mets. But he's definitely in the top two there, and he's a very high-profile pitcher and a lot of pressure on him. I mean, there's not as much pressure on Verlander. Verlander's like 40, and he's coming off an American League Cy Young, so he clearly could still do it and everything. deGrom is much maligned when it comes to the New York Mets and allowing him to go elsewhere, and he's got the injury issues, so a lot for him to prove. It's a very interesting matchup there. That gives you an idea of where I'm going for the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, at least to start out. So let's run through what I think the lineup should be. Obviously, I've got Trey Turner batting leadoff, which is why that would be the first at-bat of the year. So Trey Turner bats leadoff. He takes the first hacks for your Philadelphia Phillies in 2023. He will be playing shortstop. Batting second, I have Kyle Schwarber. Batting second, designated hitting. I do not have Kyle Schwarber in the field. I think it'd be silly to have Kyle Schwarber play left field on opening day. You have two guys in Jake Cave and Dalton Guthrie who are better served in the outfield than probably both Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos. And I think Jake Cave has proven more this offseason. We'll talk about where Cave slots into the lineup, but that'll just give you an idea of who's actually playing the outfield for Kyle Schwarber. I have Schwarber DHing, batting second. Batting third, you always want to have your best overall hitter available in the lineup batting third. Well, for the Phillies, their best overall hitter is batting first, and it's Trey Turner. But the second behind him is JT Realmuto, and I have him batting third, obviously catching. Batting cleanup and playing first base, I have Derek Hall. Lefty power bat, he fits in there well for me. I mean, he's a guy whose main asset to this team is going to be to leave the yard. And that's what the cleanup hitter does. Plus, you have a righty leadoff in Trey Turner, a lefty in the two-hole Kyle Schwarber, righty and JT Realmuto in the three spot. So cleanup, you keep that righty dynamic going, and you get a lefty in there in Derek Hall. So I love that. The fifth spot, this is interesting to me now, okay? Because the fifth spot could be a couple of different names. You could look at Nick Castellanos, or you could look at Alec Bohm there. And I don't really know exactly where the Philadelphia Phillies are going to go here. The first four, I feel pretty good about that being the best possible option through four batters. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say that Alec Bohm bats fifth. I think he's had a good enough spring to earn it. I could see them giving it to Nick Castellanos because, hey, he's making significantly more money and you want to give the guy confidence after what was a rough 2022 year for him. But Alec Bohm has earned that spot. I'm putting Alec Bohm there, and he's playing third base for me if I'm in charge of the Philadelphia Phillies. Then Nick Castellanos will play right, and he will bat sixth. Batting seventh, I'm moving Bryson Stott up to bat seventh because I don't trust Jake Cave to bat that high in the lineup. I know he's a power bat. I don't see it. And I think Bryson Stott is a guy that's going to put together better at bats than Jake Cave. While Cave is employed as the designated hitter or the left fielder of this team, which is what he will be on opening day, in my opinion, I'm batting Stott seventh. Then I'm batting Jake Cave eighth, out of Stott playing second base, by the way. Should be obvious, but anyway. Then I'm playing Jake Cave in left field over Kyle Schwarber. I think he's the better defensive option. It gives Kyle Schwarber just a chance to just worry about swinging the bat, just try and hit a couple home runs, try and just mash the ball. It's what he does best, and it allows Jake Cave to add some defense out there in the outfield that you don't have when your corners are Schwarber and Castellanos. I mean, Cave he flashed some leather in spring training as well as having a really good spring training offensively. So, yeah, Stott in the seventh spot. Cave in the eighth spot, and then rounding out, playing center field, batting ninth for your Philadelphia Phillies, Brandon Marsh. I think Marsh is an awesome option to have batting in front of Trey Turner because I think Marsh is going to be a guy that probably hits closer to 280 this year for the Philadelphia Phillies, which is what he hit in his short time with the team last year. But he was hitting like 220 something when he first came up with the Angels. And that would be a big jump for him to do it over the course of a season. It was a small sample size with the Phillies post-trade deadline last year. I think he's going to be a really good contact hitter. I think his swing path looks much better. I think he's going to put together a lot of really good at-bats to set the table for Trey Turner. And I think that's a good opportunity for him to be your second leadoff hitter and bat ninth. So Brandon Marsh batting ninth, playing center. Let's run down that one more time for you. This is my projected opening day lineup. If I was Rob Thompson and I had the lineup card and I was writing names out, it would read like this. Trey Turner, shortstop, batting first. Kyle Schwarber, DHing, batting second. JT Realmuto, catching, batting third. Derek Hall, playing first base, batting fourth. Alec Bohm, playing third base, batting fifth. Nick Castellanos, playing right field, batting sixth. Bryson Stott, playing second base, batting seventh. Jake Cave, playing left field, batting eighth. And Brandon Marsh, batting ninth and playing center field for your Philadelphia Phillies. And of course, Aaron Nola on the mound to take on Jacob deGrom. It's not as pretty of a lineup as we thought we could potentially have with Rhys Hoskins in there. And then when Bryce Harper comes back and he's healthy, yes, could it be better? Sure. Could it be worse? Absolutely. That's still a dangerous lineup. When you look at it, your leadoff hitter, your 2-hole hitter, your 3-hole hitter, your not your cleanup hitter, your 5-hole, your 6-hole. Yeah, they could all be all-stars. Like they could all be all-stars this year up to potentially being all MLB for some of the guys. But Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Alec Bohm, and Nick Castellanos all have the ability to be all-stars. And then you pepper in Derek Hall, who we'll see what he has. You pepper in two young guns in Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh at the bottom of the lineup. You bring in Jake Cave, who has spent some time at the major league level before, who won't look lost out there. And yeah, that's a good enough lineup that you can compete. It'll get better when Bryce Harper comes back, but I feel good about that lineup, and I feel good about where the Philadelphia Phillies are heading into opening day. Now, coming up next, we're going to talk through the pitching matchup, and we're going to talk through some not fun stats when it comes to Jacob deGrom and the Philadelphia Phillies. And we're also going to talk about what the Texas Rangers did to the Philadelphia Phillies last year, because we're getting a little bit less confident when we go through those numbers. I'll explain everything as we continue Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. The tournament's heating up. You're looking at rounding up the tournament, the March tournament, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked-on and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. A bet that I'd really like to look at if I was you. This isn't tournament related. This is opening day related. Look at the under in the game down there in Texas between the Phils and the Rangers. You're going to be looking at a situation where two really good pitchers are going to shove, I think, despite the strength of the lineup. And I think the strength of the lineups that are down there are going to make the line maybe a little bit too high. I'm looking at the under. But that's just me. Don't miss your shot, though, at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. So even if you're wrong, you get that back in free bets. So you can get that when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked-on to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, let's talk about the pitching matchup. But first, I want to tell you about something that I posted last night to our YouTube channel and podcast channel here on Locked On Phillies. Get ready for baseball season with Locked On MLB's ultimate 6-episode season preview. Our local and national experts give in-depth analysis of every team and division in a way only Locked On can provide. You can find all 6 episodes on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find the specific NL East Locked On season preview on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel and podcast feed. So you go ahead and check that out. A lot of good stuff. Keep in mind, when you do watch it, it was recorded prior to the Rhys Hoskins injury. So it may be a little bit of a different change in my projections and everything when we talk about what I think is going to happen for the Phillies season and stuff like that. That being said, you're looking at a very fun preview of the NL East, one of the best divisions in baseball. Now I'm on Jacob deGrom's Pro Baseball Reference page, and I want to go ahead and look at it by opponent because he spent a lot of time in his career pitching against the Philadelphia Phillies. He has 20 games against them. It's only behind the Atlanta Braves and the Washington Nationals. Those are the only, and the Miami Marlins. Sorry, the Atlanta Braves, Washington Nationals, and Miami Marlins are the only teams that Jacob deGrom has faced more than the Phillies. Makes sense. Longtime NL East guy. So he's familiar with the Philadelphia Phillies. That's rare when you see an interleague opponent. You're playing an American League team, and the pitcher is very familiar with their team. So that's already not good. 120 career innings. He has a 2.18 ERA against the Philadelphia Phillies with a 900 win percentage. He is 9-1. He's only ever taken one loss to his name, of course. There have been other games that the Phillies have won that he's pitched, but he himself has only been saddled with the loss one time out of 10 decisions against the Philadelphia Phillies. His strikeout per walk is over 5. I mean, his whip is sub 1. He's unbelievable. I'm just going to look at the numbers here against some of the other teams. And yeah, I mean, he's got a low ERA against anybody. Actually, when you look at it, there are plenty of teams with lower ERAs by Jacob deGrom when facing them. But still, 2.18 isn't exactly – that's not encouraging. deGrom's really, really good against the Philadelphia Phillies. And on top of that, the Texas Rangers, they owned the Phillies last year. The Rangers weren't that good of a team last year. They really weren't. Martin Perez was really, really good for them. Was partway through the year an AL Cy Young candidate. I mean, I know they've got Seager, they got Semien, but they just didn't put it all together to the point where they were super competitive last year, and yet the Philadelphia Phillies still had trouble with them. I don't know if it's that ballpark. I don't know if it's the travel. I don't know if it's something about the team and they just see these pitchers well, but keep that in mind when you look at this opening day matchup that the Philadelphia Phillies last year did not play well against these Texas Rangers. That's why I don't really feel great about the Philadelphia Phillies today. I'm sorry. I want them to win. I think they absolutely can win. This is not me saying there's no chance the Phillies win on opening day. But if you're telling me you're betting the Philadelphia Phillies money line with our friends over at FanDuel, I'm going to say hold your horses a little bit on that one because I would not bet on a Phillies victory today. And that's no knock. I mean, you're facing one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're on the road. That's going to be a very excited crowd down there in Texas because they made some big offseason acquisitions. It doesn't get any easier the rest of the series, too, with Nate Eovaldi throwing and Martin Perez throwing later on in the 3-game series. So The Phillies are in for a dogfight down there in Texas. Don't worry. I know they've got Texas and the Yankees on the road, and then the schedule is super easy for the Philadelphia Phillies the rest of the first really 2 months of the season. So they're going to be fine, even if they struggle this first series or two. But it's going to be a very tough opening day matchup. We'll really get to see what this lineup is made up of against one of the best pitchers in the game. So that'll be very interesting, but that's the pitching matchup to keep an eye on. Aaron Nola, it's not really important, his stats against Texas in his career, because he doesn't have many, and it's a different lineup and everything, and you don't really play Texas enough for that to matter. But Aaron Nola's been solid on opening day. The Philadelphia Phillies have been solid in opening games, and I think they're going to come out ready to go as well. It should be a very entertaining game, even if the Philadelphia Phillies do not come out with a win. And something we need to do as a fan base to keep us sane. You need to promise me something, okay? We're not going to go into this game like it's the Eagles' first game of the season. If they lose, it's a disaster. There are 162 of these suckers. If they lose the first one, they can still win 161 games and be the winningest team in baseball in history by like 50 games. Like, calm down. Deep breath. I want them to win. I think they have a chance to win. I think the Rangers are going to be favored in the game. Well, actually, I can tell you the Rangers, looking at the ESPN predictor and analytics again that I use every once in a while, that they are projected to win the game. They've got like a 70% chance of winning, the Rangers. So that's okay. That doesn't mean that, oh no, the sky's falling. They can't win without Bryce if they don't win today. Just enjoy the baseball. Enjoy the baseball is back and the opportunity that the Philadelphia Phillies have. Now, before we get into the season, too, I want to go through some numbers on I'm stealing this from the John Kincaid show that I was on. It was from yesterday morning, actually. So over on 97.5 The Fanatic, check it out. We ran through some predictions for numbers on this season. Things like win total, finishing spot in the division, home runs leader, wins leader, saves leader, stuff like that, different things, where the other teams in the division will finish. So I'm going to run through some of those numbers for you right now for our final projections ahead of opening day. The win total for the Philadelphia Phillies, I've got them winning 91 games, 4 more than last year, 3 above their total. I guess 2 above their total if you're looking at an over, because their line right now is 88.5 wins. So they'd have to win 89 games for you to cash an over. I've got them winning 91. That's why I like the over on the season. But looking at a situation there where 91 wins is my win total, I have them finishing second in the National League East. I don't know who finishes first. I don't think the Phillies are going to be better than both the Braves and the Mets, but I believe they're going to end up better than one of them. And I don't think there is a 100-game winner in the National League East this year. There were 2 last year. I don't think any of the 3 teams at the top, the Phillies, Braves, or Mets, make that milestone this year. I just don't see it, especially 2 seasons in a row. A lot has to go right for you to win 100 games. It's a long season. We'll see how it plays out. Now, as far as the leader in home runs for the Philadelphia Phillies, we'll do this, and then we'll wrap up with a look at the at wins and saves and everything like that. Home runs. This is easy for me, right? There can't be any other option. Kyle Schwarber has to lead the team in home runs, right? I predicted him to lead the team, not the league, lead the team in home runs last year. It'd be pretty cool if I predicted him to lead the league, because he ended up doing so in the National League with 46 home runs. I think he only hits 39 this year. That's my projection for what he would go ahead and put up, which is still fine. I mean, you hit 39 home runs. That's a damn good year, especially because I think Trey Turner's going to add some. And when Bryce Harper comes back, he'll obviously hit a bunch. And JT will leave the yard. I think Alec Boehm is going to hit more this year. I think Nick Castellanos is going to hit more this year. So Schwarber's 39 could result in more RBIs than he had last year, too, because he's probably going to be batting in the 2 hole with Trey Turner ahead of him, who will be on base a bunch. Bottom line is Kyle Schwarber will lead the team in home runs. To me, he's going to hit 39. Coming up, I'll tell you some of the other predictions as we wrap up this opening day edition of Locked On Phillies. Okay, let's go with wins this year. This one was an easy choice for me yesterday on the John Kincaid show. It wasn't an easy choice for everybody. This was a split decision. There's really 2 candidates, I think, in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. Which one of those guys do you like? Well, I like Aaron Nola First off, I like Aaron Nola because he's in a contract year now that they didn't get an extension done with him this offseason. So you're looking at a situation where he is playing for a very big paycheck. I think that motivation is important. You're looking at a situation where his body held up a lot better last season than Zach Wheeler's did. So if there's wear and tear, it's more likely that Zach Wheeler misses time than Aaron Nola. Though I do think they both at points will spend a little bit of time shut down. And I just think Nola's poised for a better year than Zach Wheeler is. I think Zach Wheeler has the more exciting stuff. I think Aaron Nola is still the better pitcher. But you're splitting hairs there. You've got two really, really good options with those two guys. And I think Aaron Nola is going to win 14 games. I think that is the total win total for him. It might seem a little low to a guy who's going to be like one of the best top maybe like 10 pitchers in baseball. But you remember, the Phillies are probably going to use a six-man rotation at points to mitigate the shortened offseason. He might miss time. I think 14 wins is a really, really good season for Aaron Nola. So we're looking at that for him. As far as saves leader, I think Gregory Soto is your saves leader, and I think he gets 19 saves to lead the team. But I think there's other guys factored in there. Seranthony Dominguez, if Soto leads the team with 19, Dominguez might have 15. Jose Alvarado might have 4 or 5. Craig Kimbrell might have 4 or 5. It won't just be Gregory Soto as closer, even though I think that's how they should handle it. But I do think he'll ultimately take the reins as the closer of this team, and I think he'll lead the team in saves. So that's how I see the bullpen going. And the most valuable player for your 2023 Philadelphia Phillies, Trey Turner. Got to be. You don't go anywhere if he's not your best player. I mean, I guess there's a world where JT Realmuto could be your best player. I guess there's a world where Aaron Nola in a contract year could win like 18 games and have a sub-3 ERA and just absolutely dominate baseball. Like, these things are possible. It could be other guys and you could still win. But I think with how talented Trey Turner is and how important it is for him to carry the load while Bryce Harper is out, Trey Turner is your most valuable player. Nick Castellanos is your most improved player. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I think he has a really good year. And to me, a really good year for Nick Castellanos. Hit 280, hit 18 to 20 home runs. We're incredibly happy with that. That would be a ridiculously good year. The Philadelphia Phillies could vie for the NL East title if he does that. Let's see how it plays out. It's going to be a very fun year. Go get set up for opening day. That's all for today's Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your next listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Opening day, super important. Subscribe to Locked On Phillies on YouTube. We're going to be putting out episodes daily now. Reaction videos to all the games. There's going to be so much content. You're going to want to keep up with it. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube to Locked On Phillies so that you don't miss any of it, because we're going to have a really, really fun season. It's a really exciting season for the Philadelphia Phillies, and I want you along for the ride. So please do that for me. It helps me out. It helps you out. It's a win-win, and it costs you nothing. So I appreciate in advance you subscribing to Locked On Phillies. And that's all for today's episode. So thank you. Let's go get ready for opening day. Let's beat the Rangers. Let's have a great 2023 season, everybody. Go Fightins!